You mentioned that Oregon State brings more pressure than maybe any other team you've played so far this year. Might the running backs' performance against Oregon ease some of that pressure in future games?
We just got to continue to get better at it. I mean, as a combination of the backs going to where they're supposed to, and our offensive line driving off the ball and having low pads and running their feet and just the basic things. And then, but we got to continue to improve.
When the backs are averaging 7, 8, 9 yards a carry, do teams tend to bring a little less heat?
It varies. You know, sometimes they'll do it to fill gaps. I mean, there's run pressures and pass pressures, and guys will do it to fill gaps to get numbers in the box. You know, and then you just need to identify it.
Does something about Luke on those game-winning drives, does that rub off on the rest of the team?
I think he's been a very composed figure out there on those, and I think that has rubbed off on the rest of the team. And then, you know, and it starts with just the expectation that you can march down and score, but then he does a really good job keeping everybody clear-headed in those situations.
Thank you.
Coach, Tavares and Kyron have been getting more touches throughout the games. What have you seen in terms of their growth so far?
They're just improving, just kind of getting in a rhythm.
You know, I was hearing that, you know, Gary Anderson obviously knew Luke since Luke was in high school, but you know, Luke kind of flew under the radar, only had offers, I think, from Idaho and Cornell. When did you first hear about Luke Falk?
Well, about during the recruiting season, we already had a guy committed, and but during the recruiting season, thought he was a real quality guy. Thought he'd really be good, and thought he'd earn a scholarship, and he did. So.
What was that process like of convincing him to walk on? You know, I'm sure that's not an easy thing for a kid to do. It's kind of a big risk, but I guess how did that conversation kind of play out?
Well, it wasn't incredibly hard considering that he was under the radar and didn't have any other scholarships, and so and Cornell, of course, doesn't give scholarships. So I don't know. That part of it was. It was all relatively easy since nobody offered it. So.
Did you could tell even back then that he had kind of a good head on his shoulders, or is that something you learned as you got to know him more?
It looked like it on film. You try to sort that as you watch film. You know, how is he when they're ahead? How is he when they're behind? And it appeared that he did, and then of course it turned out that he did.
Thanks.